And welcome back, YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. As always, I appreciate that. And today let's talk about loot boxes, because loot boxes are the current video game hot topic. Now, I was not planning to talk about loot boxes because personally I avoid them as much as I can, which is not that hard to do for me because I don't play a lot of multiplayer games. But since they're also introduced in the single-player portion of Shadow of War, I will throw in my 2 cents here. Now, word of warning, I have a far more nuanced opinion about loot boxes, and I will explain why I think loot boxes in some cases can be okay. And I'll also go into some of the arguments, some of the reactions from YouTubers, prolific YouTubers like TotalBiscuit and Jim Sterling and many others, because there seems to be a consensus amongst them that loot boxes are the new evil and will infest games even more in the near future. Personally, I think that as long as these loot boxes don't get in the way of the gameplay, I am pretty much okay with it. Let's start by saying that publishers and developers have to recoup some of the time and money that they invested in creating a game, because games can take up to 3 to 4 years to develop, and they cost a lot of money, and once released, the game is out there. It's not like in the music industry where a band will record an album and then go on tour and sell t-shirts while they're at it, so making money that way. I mean, the games and publishers and developers can't do that. So let's not forget, loot boxes can be fun as well. I mean, it's a thrill for a lot of people to spend some money in the hopes that they'll get a special item in return. And there are a lot of people buying them, and you just can't discard that. There's a market for that, so you can't really blame the companies for putting in DLC, microtransactions, loot boxes and all that, because people just buy them. And it's not just in games, really, because even game retailers like GOG.com and Greenman Gaming, these are prolific game retailers, also work with loot boxes. I mean, the GOG.com website had this piñata sale where you just throw in some cash and you'll get a mystery game. Steam game could be a new game, could also be a game that you already own. So that's pretty much the same thing. You spend some money and you hope to gain something from that. Also, loot boxes can prolong the lifespan of a game. I mean, nothing is worse than a great multiplayer game that nobody plays. So it's a way to keep players engaged. Give them some items, give them some new stuff, and they will keep playing. Also, loot boxes can be used by new players to get a head start. I mean, take Battlefront 2, the upcoming Star Wars multiplayer game. Now, in a few months' time, there will be a skilled player base. So if you're new to the game, you want to be eased into it, right? And loot boxes can play an important part getting you into the game, giving you a little head start. Now, let's go over some of the arguments against loot boxes. The biggest argument is it's basically pay to win. But really, that depends on how it is implemented. It can be. And if it is, people will abandon the game. And it's just as simple as that. I mean, companies and developers have an interest to keep you playing. They don't have an interest in or letting players pay to win, because everybody will go away, right? Also, it will only be pay to win to a certain extent. By that I mean that for a multiplayer game, you need skill to succeed. You can have the best outfit and the biggest gun, but without skills you won't win any matches. Now also, people say that loot boxes sort of prey on people with compulsory addictive personality traits. Now this is a point that Jim Sterling makes a lot, as he sees himself as somebody who is perceptive to these things. For some that will be the case, but most people don't have that, right? They will know when to stop and how to stop these things. They will get bored of the loot boxes, pretty much. Another much heard argument is that loot boxes are a form of gambling. Now this is pretty much a legal issue or an interpretation of the law. It might be gambling, but it might not be, because with loot boxes, a very essential difference with gambling is that with loot boxes, at least you get some items. While with gambling, you can lose all your money and get nothing in return. With loot boxes, you get some items. You might already own these items, or you get something really special, right? And that's really the difference between gambling and loot boxes. So it can be an addition to the game. It can be a good thing. It's not all bad. And that's sort of the main thing that you can take away from this video. Maybe people should start to look at it from a more nuanced point of view and see how this thing develops in the future. So that's it for me. Let me know what you think. Leave comments, subscribe, like or dislike, and see you in the next video.